Dae-ho Kim walked through the great halls of Harmony Station with slow, careful steps. The space station was huge, bigger than most cities back on Earth. It floated in the empty space between star systems, a place where all the different alien races could meet safely. Today was important. Two alien empires had been fighting for 50 years, and Dae-ho was here to help them stop. The Vorthak were big, mean-looking creatures with thick skin like armor. They loved to fight and take over other worlds. The silicates were made of living crystal that sang when they talked. They were peaceful, but had powerful weapons when they needed them. For half a century, these two groups had been killing each other over some worthless rocks in space that had rare metals inside. Dae-ho had spent 3 months talking to both sides. He listened to their anger. He understood their pain. He helped them see that fighting was hurting everyone. This was what humans did best. They made peace where others made war. "Ambassador Kim," said a voice behind him. Dae-ho turned around and saw Captain Yuna Park walking toward him. She wore the blue uniform of the human medical fleet. Her ship, Compassion's Edge, was docked at the station. It was full of medicine and doctors, ready to help anyone who needed it. "Captain Park," Dae-ho said with a smile, "I didn't know you were here." "We brought supplies for the refugee camps," Yuna said. "The fighting between the Vorthak and Silicates has left a lot of families without homes. How are the peace talks?" "Going?" "Better than I hoped," Dae-ho said. "I think we can end this war today." They walked together toward the main meeting hall. Other aliens moved through the corridors around them. There were tall, thin creatures with too many arms. There were small, furry beings that looked like walking teddy bears. There were floating jellyfish-like things that glowed different colors when they were happy or sad. The galaxy was full of different life forms, and somehow, humans had become friends with most of them. It hadn't always been this way. When humans first left Earth 300 years ago, many people thought they would become conquerors like so many other races. Humans were good at fighting. They were smart. They could be very dangerous when they wanted to be. But instead, humans chose a different path. The first human colonies were built on dead worlds that no one else wanted. Humans brought these empty rocks to life with plants and water and air. When they met other alien races, humans offered to trade instead of fight. When aliens were sick, humans shared their medicine. When there were wars, humans helped make peace. Other races laughed at first. They called humans weak. They said kindness was stupid in a dangerous galaxy. But as years went by, everyone learned that humans were different. They kept their promises. They helped without asking for anything back. They could be trusted. Now, almost every race in the galaxy respected humans. When there were problems that couldn't be solved with weapons, people called for human help. Dae-ho had stopped dozens of wars. Yuna's medical ships had saved millions of lives. Human teachers had shared knowledge with hundreds of worlds. "The meeting is starting," Yuna said as they reached the great hall. Inside, the Vorthak and Silicate leaders sat at opposite ends of a long table. The Vorthak leader, General Thurok, was as big as 3 humans put together. His red eyes burned with anger that had lasted for 50 years. The Silicate leader, Harmony singer Crystalline Voice, sparkled like a living diamond. Her musical voice was beautiful, but it carried deep sadness. Dae-ho took his seat between them. "My friends," he said in his calm voice, "today we can choose to end the pain. Your people have suffered enough." For the next 4 hours, Dae-ho worked his magic. He helped both sides remember why they had started fighting. He showed them how much the war had cost. He painted a picture of what peace could bring. Slowly, the anger in the room began to fade. Finally, General Thurok slammed his huge fist on the table. But instead of anger, his voice was tired. "Enough," he said. "The human speaks truth. This war has brought us only death." Harmony singer. crystalline voice sang a note so pure and sad that everyone in the room felt tears in their eyes. "My crystal children die for rocks that will not sing back. To them," she said, "let there be peace." The agreement was signed with great ceremony. News of the peace spread across the galaxy in hours. Another human success. Another war ended by kindness instead of force. But far away, at the edge of human space, young engineer Tae-Min Lee was looking at something that would change everything. He worked on a deep space monitoring station that watched for dangerous objects flying through space. Asteroids, old spaceships, things like that. But what Tae-Min saw on his screens was not an asteroid. It was something huge, moving faster than anything should be able to move. And it wasn't alone. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all heading toward the galaxy from the empty space beyond the stars. "This can't be right," Tae-Min said to himself. He checked his instruments again and again. The readings were always the same. Something was coming. Something big. Something that wasn't supposed to exist. Tae-Min sent a message to Earth immediately. The objects were still years away from reaching human space, but they were coming. And they were accelerating. Back on Harmony Station, Daeho was celebrating with his fellow ambassadors. The Vorthak and Silicates were already planning joint colonies. The galaxy was a little more peaceful today because humans had chosen kindness over violence. None of them knew that far away, in the dark between the stars, an ancient hunger was waking up. Something that had slept for millions of years was finally ready to harvest what it had planted so long ago. The galaxy had learned to trust human kindness. Soon, it would learn what happened when that kindness was no longer enough, but for now, there was peace. And Daeho Kim, humanity's gentle ambassador, smiled as he watched former enemies shake hands and plan a better future together. He had no idea that this might be one of the last times his kindness would be enough to save anyone. Captain Yuna Park was eating breakfast in her ship's small dining room when the emergency call came through. The message was weak and full of static, but she could hear the fear in the voice that sent it. "This is Colony Leader Yamamoto on Kepler 442b, the voice said through crackling speakers. "Something is wrong here. The sky is changing color. The animals are acting strange. We need help. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help right now." Then the signal cut off completely. Yuna put down her coffee cup and ran to the bridge of Compassion's Edge. Her crew was already working at their stations, trying to contact the colony. Kepler 442b was a small farming world on the outer edge of human space. About 50,000 people lived there, growing food for the nearby mining colonies. "Any response from Kepler?" Yuna asked her communications officer, Sujin Kang. "Nothing, Captain," Sujin said, shaking her head. "I've been calling for 20 minutes, complete silence. How long to get there?" 3 days at maximum speed. "Then let's go," Yuna said. "Set course for Kepler 442b. The journey felt much longer than 3 days. Yuna's ship was designed to help people, not fight. It carried doctors and medicine, food and supplies for refugees. The crew of Compassion's Edge had saved thousands of lives over the years. They had never found a situation they couldn't help with. But as they got closer to Kepler 442b, Yuna began to feel worried. There were no ships in space around the planet. No radio signals. No signs of life at all. The planet's orbital stations were still there, but they weren't answering calls either. "Take us in slowly," Yuna told her pilot. "Something is very wrong here." When they finally saw the planet, everyone on the bridge went quiet. Kepler 442b had been a green world covered with farms and forests. The colonists had worked for 40 years to make it beautiful. There had been rivers and lakes, cities and towns, millions of plants and animals living together. Now it was just a ball of gray rock. "My God," whispered Junho Choi, the ship's science officer. "What happened to it?" The planet's surface was completely smooth. No mountains, no valleys, no water. It looked like someone had used a giant machine to scrape away everything that had ever lived there. The atmosphere was gone too. The planet was just a dead, empty sphere spinning in space. "Take us down to the surface," Yuna ordered. "But be careful." They landed near where the main colony city used to be. Yuna and Junho put on spacesuits and walked out onto the gray surface. There was nothing left. Not a single building. Not one tree. Not even any soil. Just smooth, lifeless rock. "Captain," Junho said through his radio, "look at this." He was kneeling next to what looked like a perfect circle carved into the rock. It was about 10 feet across and went down into the planet like a tunnel. "There are more of them," Junho said, pointing around. "Hundreds of them, maybe thousands." Yuna looked around and saw he was right. The entire surface was covered with these circular holes. They were all exactly the same size, spaced perfectly apart. "It's like something was mining the planet," Junho said. "But they took everything, every mineral, every drop of water, every living thing. They stripped the planet down to its core and then took that too. They spent hours examining the dead world. Junho took samples of the rock, but there wasn't much to learn. Whatever had done this was thorough. They had left nothing behind except empty stone." Back on the ship, Sujin was working at her communication station when she made a discovery that changed everything. "Captain," she called, "I've been checking old distress signals from other colonies. I think you need to see this." She put the information on the main screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with dozens of red dots scattered across it. "These are all colonies that have gone silent in the past year," Sujin said. "I thought they were just communication problems or equipment failures, but now—" Yuna stared at the map. There were 47 red dots, 47 worlds that had stopped talking to the rest of the galaxy. "Show me the pattern," Yuna said. Sujin worked at her controls, and the dots began to light up in order. The first ones were at the very edge of the galaxy, in the empty space where few ships ever went. Then more dots appeared, moving slowly inward toward the core worlds where most people lived. "Whatever is doing this," Junho said, "it started at the rim, and it's working its way in, and it's getting faster." Yuna felt cold fear growing in her stomach. "How long before it reaches Earth?" Sujin did quick calculations. "At this rate, maybe 2 years." "We have to warn everyone," Yuna said. "Send messages to Earth, to the Galactic Council, to every world in human space. Tell them what we found here." The journey back to civilized space took a week. During that time, Junho studied all the data they had collected. What he found made the situation even worse. "Captain," he said on the last day of their journey, "I don't think this is random. Look at these numbers." He showed her his research. The attacks were too organized to be natural disasters. They followed a pattern, hitting specific types of worlds in a specific order. Agricultural worlds first, then mining colonies, then research stations. "Someone is planning this," Junho said. "Something intelligent is choosing which worlds to hit and when." When they finally reached a space station, with long-range communications, Yuna immediately sent reports to Earth and the Galactic Council. She told them about the dead worlds, about the pattern, about the coming threat. The response was not what she expected. "Captain Park," said Admiral Chen from Earth Fleet Command, "we've reviewed your report. Are you sure about what you saw?" "Yes, sir," Yuna said. 47 worlds completely stripped of all life and resources." "That seems unlikely," the Admiral said. "Perhaps these colonies just relocated. Maybe they found better worlds to live on. Sir, with respect, I walked on the surface of Kepler 442b. There's nothing left, not even an atmosphere." The Admiral looked uncomfortable. "We'll investigate, Captain. But please don't spread panic until we know more." The Galactic Council was even worse. When Daeho Kim presented Yuna's evidence to the council, most of the alien representatives didn't believe him. "The humans are being dramatic again," said one alien leader. "They see danger everywhere. Perhaps they want to create a crisis, so they can be the heroes who solve it," said another. Only a few council members took the warning seriously. But they were outnumbered by those who thought humans were overreacting. 3 months later, the attacks reached the Middle Rim worlds. The aquatic Delphians sent a desperate message from their ocean world. "The sky is full of ships the size of moons. They're drinking our oceans. Help us." Then their signal went dead, too. By then, it was too late to stop what was coming. The galaxy had ignored humanity's warnings. Soon, everyone would pay the price for not listening to the people who had always tried to protect them. Admiral Hyun-woo Nam stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the evacuation ships flee from the dying world below. Oceania Prime had been beautiful once, covered entirely by warm seas where the Delphian people lived in floating cities. Now, those oceans were disappearing into the bellies of massive ships that looked like they were made of metal and flesh twisted together. "How many did we save?" Hyun-woo asked his communications officer. "About 2 million Delphians, sir," came the reply. But there were 12 million living on that world. Hyun-woo closed his eyes for a moment. 10 million people lost. And this was considered a successful evacuation. The enemy ships, everyone called them devourers now, were too fast and too many. By the time rescue ships arrived, most worlds were already dead. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "we're getting reports from the Harmony Cluster. The Resonants are under attack." The Resonants were crystalline beings who sang to each other across vast distances. Their worlds were covered with crystal formations that created beautiful music when the wind blew through them. Hyun-woo had visited there once during peacetime. It was one of the most beautiful places in the galaxy. "How long do they have?" he asked. "Maybe 6 hours, sir. The Devourers are already in their system." 6 hours. Not nearly enough time to get rescue ships there. Another world would die, and there was nothing humans could do to stop it. This had been happening for months now. The Devourers moved from world to world like a plague, stripping each planet bare before moving on. They took everything. Every plant, every animal, every drop of water, every grain of soil. They even took the air. What they left behind were smooth balls of dead rock floating in space. President Ji-yoon Song's voice came through on the emergency channel. "All fleet commanders report to Earth immediately for emergency conference." Hyun-woo sighed. Another meeting. More talk about what they should do. Meanwhile, worlds kept dying, and there never seemed to be enough ships to save everyone. Back on Earth, the mood in the government building was dark. Military leaders, scientists, and politicians crowded into the main conference room. Everyone looked tired. Everyone looked scared. "The situation is getting worse," President Song said without any greeting. "We've confirmed attacks on 43 worlds in the past month. Our evacuation efforts are saving maybe 20% of the population on each world." "It's not enough," said Admiral Hyun-woo. "We need the other species to help. Where are the Vorthak war fleets? Where are the silicate defense ships?" "Arguing with each other," said Ambassador Daeho Kim bitterly. He had just returned from another failed meeting with the Galactic Council. The Vorthak want to fight the Devourers head-on. The Silicates want to hide and wait for the threat to pass. The Aquatic Federation is demanding we save their people first. Nobody can agree on anything. "What about our own defense forces?" asked Captain Bo Ra Shin. She commanded one of humanity's few military ships. Most of the human fleet was designed for exploration and rescue, not war. "We have 37 armed ships in the entire fleet," Admiral Hyun-woo said. "The Devourers have thousands. Their ships are the size of moons. Our weapons barely scratch them." In the corner of the room, a young engineer named Tae-min Lee was working on a portable computer. He had been studying the Devourers ever since the attacks began. trying to understand what they were and what they wanted. "I think I know what's happening," Taemin said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. "Go ahead," President Song said. Taemin connected his computer to the room's main screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with all the Devourer attacks marked in red. "Look at the pattern," he said. "It's not random. They're not just attacking any worlds. They're targeting specific types of planets in a specific order." The map showed clusters of attacks around certain types of star systems. Agricultural, worlds, mining planets, research stations. Each type of world was attacked in waves. "It's like they're following a plan," Taemin continued. "Like they know exactly what they're looking for and where to find it." "So?" asked Admiral Hyun-woo. "Does that help us stop them?" "Maybe," Taemin said. "Because I don't think they're invaders. I think they're farmers coming to harvest their crops." The room went quiet. Everyone stared at the young engineer. "What do you mean?" President Song asked. Taemin took a deep breath. "I've been studying galactic history. Every intelligent species in this galaxy developed in roughly the same time period. We all discovered fire within a few thousand years of each other. We all developed space travel within a few centuries of each other. That's statistically impossible unless someone was helping it happen," finished Dr. Hae-won Kim, a geneticist who had been studying alien DNA samples. "Exactly," Taemin said. "I think someone seeded this galaxy with life millions of years ago. They designed each species to develop certain traits to become good at certain things. The Delphians were water farmers. The Resonants were mineral singers. The Vorthak were warrior breeders." "And humans?" asked President Song quietly. "That's the strange part," Taemin said. "According to my research, humans weren't supposed to exist. Our DNA doesn't match the pattern. We're not designed for anything specific. We're wrong." Dr. Hae-won nodded. "I've been seeing the same thing in my genetic studies. Every other species has clear genetic modifications, like someone was engineering them for specific purposes. But human DNA looks completely natural, unmodified." "So what does that mean?" Admiral Hyun-woo asked. "It means the Devourers are harvesting a crop that took millions of years to grow," Taemin said. "And we're the weeds that weren't supposed to be here." The implications hit everyone at the same time. If the Devourers were harvesting designed species, then fighting them might be impossible. How do you fight the farmers who created everything you know? "There has to be a way to stop them," said Captain Bo-Ra. "Maybe," said Dr. Hae-won quietly. "But it would require us to do things that go against everything humanity stands for." "What do you mean?" President Song asked. "Our kindness, our desire to help others, our reluctance to use violence. Those might be weaknesses now. The Devourers don't expect resistance from their crops. But if we stopped acting like the peaceful species everyone expects us to be—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Everyone in the room understood what she was suggesting. For 300 years, humanity had chosen kindness over strength. They had chosen to help instead of to hurt. They had become the galaxy's peacekeepers and healers. But peace and healing weren't going to stop the Devourers. Maybe it was time for humanity to remember what they had been before they decided to be kind. Outside Earth's windows, the evacuation ships continued to arrive, filled with refugees from dead worlds. Each ship carried people who had trusted human kindness to save them. Some had been saved. Many others had not. The galaxy was learning that kindness had limits, and humanity was about to learn what lay beyond those limits. Admiral Hyun-woo Nam was having breakfast with his daughter when the emergency alarm began screaming. Little Sumi was only 8 years old, and she dropped her spoon when the loud noise started. "What's that sound, Papa?" she asked with big, scared eyes. "It's just a drill, sweetheart," Hyun-woo said, but he was already standing up to check his communication device. What he saw there made his blood turn cold. Devourer ships detected entering Alpha Centauri system. Estimated arrival at Proxima Colony in 4 hours. Proxima Colony, where his daughter lived with her mother, where he had sent them to keep them safe while he commanded the defense fleets. "Papa, you look scary," Sumi said. Hyunwoo forced himself to smile and sat back down. "Everything is fine, little star. Papa has to go to work now. You stay with Mama, okay?" "Okay," Sumi said, but she still looked worried. Hyunwoo kissed his daughter on the forehead and ran out of their apartment. He had to get to his ship. He had to defend Proxima Colony. He had to save his family. But as he ran through the corridors of the space station toward his ship, Hyunwoo knew the truth. The defense fleet only had 12 ships in the Alpha Centauri system. The Devourers were coming with hundreds. 6 hours later, Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched his daughter die. The Devourer ships were enormous, each one the size of a small moon. They moved through space like living things, their surfaces rippling with organic-looking metal. When they reached Proxima Colony, they surrounded the planet like hungry animals around a wounded prey. Hyunwoo's small fleet tried to fight. They fired every weapon they had. They rammed their ships into the Devourer hulls. They died bravely, but it was like throwing rocks at giants. The last transmission from Proxima Colony came from the emergency shelters where the civilians were hiding. Hyunwoo heard his ex-wife's voice first, telling people to stay calm. Then he heard Sumi crying in the background. "Papa?" His daughter's voice came through the radio. "The sky is getting dark. I'm scared. When are you coming to get me?" Then, the transmission cut off. The Devourers had begun their harvest. Hyunwoo watched through his ship's cameras as the planet died. Giant tubes came down from the Devourer ships, like the tongues of massive creatures. They sucked up the oceans first, then the atmosphere, then the ground itself. Within 6 hours, Proxima Colony was gone. Just another ball of dead rock. His daughter was gone. His ex-wife was gone. 4 million people who had trusted human protection were gone. And across the galaxy, other species were already talking about the inevitable. They said the Devourers were too powerful to fight. They said everyone should just accept what was happening. Some alien leaders even suggested that species should surrender peacefully to make the harvest less traumatic. That night, Hyunwoo sat alone in his quarters and did something he had never done before in his military career. He cried. He cried for his daughter, for his lost world, for all the people he had failed to protect. When he was finished crying, he made a decision. The galaxy wanted humanity to keep being kind, to keep trying to save everyone, to keep dying gracefully while the Devourers consumed everything they loved. But Hyunwoo was done being kind. The next morning, he sent a message to Earth. Request: immediate meeting with President Song. Personal matter. Urgent. Back on Earth, President Ji-Yoon Song was dealing with her own crisis. The Galactic Council was demanding that humanity use their evacuation ships to save alien worlds first. They said humans were better at rescue operations and should focus on that while other species handled the fighting. "They want us to be their servants," said Dr. Haewon Kim angrily. She had been studying genetic samples from the Devourers and had made some disturbing discoveries. "They want us to save their people while they hide in their bunkers." "What choice do we have?" asked Ambassador Daeho. "If we don't help, millions will die." "Millions are dying anyway," said military strategist Dong-Hyun Lee. "Our kindness isn't saving them. It's just making us feel better while everything burns." The debate was interrupted when Admiral Hyunwoo arrived. He looked different somehow. Harder. Colder. When he spoke, his voice was flat and emotionless. "Mr. President," he said, "I have a proposal. It's called the Unkind Protocol." "What's that?" President Song asked. "We stop helping other species. We stop trying to save everyone. We focus all our resources on protecting human worlds and human people. Everyone else can save themselves." The room went quiet. This was not how humans were supposed to think. "Admiral," said Daeho carefully, "that goes against everything we stand for." "Does it?" Hyunwoo asked. "Did our kindness save the Delphians? Did our compassion protect the Resonance? Did our gentle nature keep my daughter alive?" No one answered. "The galaxy has made its choice," Hyunwoo continued. "They want us to be the helpers, the servants, the ones who die quietly while they survive. They want us to be kind until there's nothing left of us to be kind with." Dr. Hae-won cleared her throat. "There's something else," she said. "My genetic research has found something important. Humans are the only species in this galaxy that wasn't designed by the architects." "The who?" asked President Song. "The ones who created the Devourers," Dr. Hae-won said. "The ones who seeded this galaxy with life millions of years ago. Every other species was designed for a specific purpose. But humans evolved naturally. We're not supposed to be here." "So?" asked Daeho. "So we're not bound by their rules," said Dong-hyun Lee, understanding immediately. "We don't have to act the way they expect their creations to act." "For 300 years, we chose to be kind," Dr. Hae-won said. "But choice works both ways. We can choose to be something else." President Song stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the evacuation ships landing, full of refugees from destroyed worlds. People who trusted human kindness to keep them alive. But kindness wasn't keeping anyone alive anymore. "If we do this," she said quietly, "we become something different. Something the galaxy won't recognize." "Good," said Admiral Hyunwoo. "Let them fear us instead of using us." That evening, President Song made a broadcast to the entire galaxy. Her words were simple and clear. "The Human Colonial Union hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council. We are suspending all humanitarian missions to non-human worlds. From this moment forward, humanity will focus exclusively on protecting human interests. We thank other species for teaching us that survival matters more than kindness." The galaxy was shocked. Humans didn't act this way. Humans were supposed to be the helpers, the peacekeepers, the ones who put others first. But as the broadcast ended, Admiral Hyunwoo smiled for the first time since his daughter died. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were like when they stopped choosing to be good, and deep in hidden shipyards that the galaxy didn't know existed, construction began on ships that were designed for war instead of mercy. The age of human kindness was ending. The age of human anger was about to begin. Dr. Woo Jin Han looked at the alien prisoner strapped to the medical table and felt nothing. 6 months ago, he had been a humanitarian doctor, saving lives across the galaxy. Now he was creating weapons that could kill entire species. The prisoner was a Vorthak spy who had been caught trying to steal human evacuation ships. The Vorthak Empire thought they could take advantage of humanity's withdrawal from galactic affairs. They were wrong. "Please," the Vorthak said in broken human language, "I have children. I was just following orders." "So was I," Woo Jin said as he prepared the injection. "My orders are to find out what makes your species tick. This might hurt." The serum he injected was his own creation, a biological weapon designed specifically to target Vorthak DNA. It would take apart the alien's genetic structure piece by piece while keeping him alive long enough to provide useful data. Woo Jin watched. The prisoner died slowly and felt satisfied. Each scream gave him information he could use to make the weapon more effective. By the time he was finished, he would have a virus that could kill every Vorthak in the galaxy within days. This was what humanity had become. The galaxy had wanted them to stop being kind, so they had. Now the galaxy was learning what humans were like when they decided to be cruel instead. In orbit around Jupiter, Captain Seung-ho Park stood on the bridge of his new ship and admired its terrible beauty. The necessary evil was not like the peaceful vessels humanity used to build. It was black as space itself, covered with weapons that could crack planets open. Its hull was made from metal that could repair itself, technology humanity had possessed for decades but never used. "Sir," said his weapons officer, "we're detecting a Devourer harvest ship entering the outer solar system." "Just one?" Sung Ho asked. "Yes, sir. Moon class. Same type that destroyed Proxima Colony." Sung Ho smiled. The Devourers had been systematically consuming human worlds for months. They probably thought Earth would be easy prey, just another agricultural planet to strip bare. They were about to learn otherwise. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," he said into his communicator. "Target the Devourer. Let's show them what happens when they come to our home." The human fleet that met the Devourer ship was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These were not rescue vessels or exploration ships. These were predators built for killing, armed with weapons that violated every galactic treaty on warfare. The Devourer ship was enormous, big enough to swallow moons. Its biomechanical hull rippled with organic metal that could heal from most damage. It had destroyed hundreds of worlds and consumed trillions of lives. It died in 14 minutes. The humans hit it with gravity bombs that crushed parts of its hull into black holes. They used molecular disruptors that made its armor eat itself. They fired dark matter torpedoes that erased sections of the ship from existence. When the battle was over, there was nothing left but scattered debris and the memory of something that used to be mighty. "Send a message to all Devourer fleets," Sung Ho ordered. "Tell them that was their only warning." But the humans weren't just fighting Devourers. All across the galaxy, other species were learning that humanity's patience had run out. When the Aquatic Federation tried to demand that human ships transport their refugees, they found their home fleet simply disappeared. No wreckage, no survivors, no explanation. Just empty space where their warships used to be. When the Silicate Confederation attempted to claim abandoned human colonies, they discovered that their crystal cities had been poisoned with a virus that made their singing crystals scream in agony until they shattered. When the Galactic Council sent ambassadors to Earth demanding explanations, they met with Mi-Young Choi, humanity's new diplomatic representative. "Where is Ambassador Kim?" asked the council leader, a crystalline being, whose voice tinkled like wind chimes. "Dead," Mi-Young said simply. "He died fighting a Devourer to save alien refugees. No one came to help him." "We demand that humanity return to its humanitarian duties," the alien said. "The galaxy needs human compassion." Mi-Young laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "The galaxy had human compassion for 300 years. You threw it away. Now you get something else." "What do you want from us?" the alien asked. "Nothing," Mi-Young said. "We don't want your friendship. We don't want your trade. We don't want your gratitude. We want you to stay away from human space and leave us alone." "And if we refuse?" Mi-Young played a recording on the conference room screen. It showed a Vorthak fleet attempting to raid a human supply convoy. The Vorthak ships were powerful, equipped with plasma cannons and quantum shields. They were confident they could overwhelm the small human escort. The human ships destroyed the entire Vorthak fleet without taking a single hit. Worse, they did it using weapons that seemed to understand what they were fighting. The plasma cannons were turned into flowers that grew through the Vorthak ships' hulls. The quantum shields became mirrors that reflected the aliens' own weapons back at them. "We spent 300 years learning how to heal," Mi-Young said as the recording ended. "Turns out, healing and harming use the same knowledge. We know exactly how to take apart every species in this galaxy." That night, the alien ambassadors sent emergency messages to their home worlds. The humans had changed. The gentle giants who used to solve everyone's problems had become something dark and dangerous. Meanwhile, on Earth, former philosopher In-Soo Park was teaching young humans about their new place in the galaxy. He had once written books about peace and understanding. Now he taught military strategy to children. Remember, he told his students, we tried kindness, we tried helping others, we tried being what the galaxy wanted us to be, and what did it get us? Dead worlds and dead. Children, the students replied in unison. That's right, Insu said. So now we protect ourselves first. Everyone else can fight their own battles. The transformation was complete. Humanity had spent centuries building a reputation as the galaxy's helpers and healers. In less than a year, they had destroyed that reputation and built something new in its place. The galaxy had always known humans were capable of great kindness. Now they were learning that humans were equally capable of great cruelty. Ships that used to carry medicine now carried weapons. Scientists who used to cure diseases now created plagues. Diplomats who used to make peace now made threats. And in the depths of space, the remaining devourer fleets began to realize they had a problem. Their harvest was being disrupted by something they had never encountered before, a species that refused to be harvested. The architects who had created the devourers had planned for resistance from their designed species. They had not planned for humans who weren't supposed to exist and didn't follow the rules. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when an unplanned variable entered a perfect system. And that variable was very, very angry. Ambassador Kyung-min Lee walked into the rebuilt Galactic Council chamber and smiled at the fear in the alien's eyes. 1 year ago, his predecessor Dae-ho Kim had stood in this same room begging for help to fight the devourers. Today, Kyung-min was here to dictate terms to a galaxy that had learned to be afraid of humans. The chamber was different now. Where once hundreds of species had gathered as equals, now there were only 50 representatives. The rest were dead, their worlds stripped bare by the devourers, or they were too afraid to attend meetings where humans might be present. Honored delegates, Kyung-min said, his voice carrying easily through the silent chamber. I bring greetings from the human hegemony. Hegemony, not union, not federation. The galaxy had taught humans that only the strong survived, so humans had become strong. Stronger than anyone else. The silicate representative, a crystal being whose song now carried only fear, spoke first. Ambassador Lee, the Council wishes to know when humanity will resume its humanitarian missions. Kyung-min laughed. You mean when will we go back to dying for your convenience? Never. But the refugee camps, said the Aquatic Federation delegate. There are millions of displaced people who need help. Then help them yourselves, Kyung-min said. Humanity is not your servant. He activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. 1/3 of it was colored blue. Human space. It was much larger than it had been a year ago. These are the new borders of human territory, Kyung-min said. Any non-human ship entering this space without permission will be destroyed. Any attempt to claim human worlds will be met with force. You can't just take over 1/3 of the galaxy, protested the Vorthak representative, though his voice shook as he spoke. We already have, Kyung-min replied. Did you think your invasion fleets just disappeared by accident? Did you think your home worlds developed those convenient plagues naturally? The truth was that most of the galaxy's military power was simply gone. The devourers had consumed some of it, but humans had eliminated the rest. Species that had tried to take advantage of humanity's withdrawal had learned that post-kindness humans were far more dangerous than the devourers had ever been. What do you want from us? Asked the crystalline Confederation leader. Obedience, Kyung-min said simply. The galaxy spent 3 centuries teaching us that might makes right. We learned that lesson well. Admiral Yoon-ji Park was on the bridge of her flagship, watching the final cleanup operations around what used to be a devourer nest world. The planet had been the architect's main base, hidden in dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. It was where they had planned their harvest and controlled their biomechanical ships. Now it was a cloud of radioactive dust. "That's the last of them, Admiral," reported her weapons officer. "The devourer species is extinct." Yunji nodded. It had taken human fleets 8 months to hunt down every devourer ship and destroy every architect facility. They had used weapons that turned planets into supernovas, viruses that consumed biomechanical technology, and strategies that would have horrified the old, kind humans. But those humans were gone. The galaxy had killed them when it refused to help fight the devourers. "Set course for home," Yunji ordered. "We have a galaxy to govern." The new human empire was nothing like the old human colonies, where once there had been peaceful farming, worlds and research stations. Now there were fortress planets bristling with weapons that could destroy solar systems. Human cities were built like military bases, ready for war at any moment. On the world formerly known as Vorthak Prime, Governor Jae-sung Kim walked through the streets of what had once been the alien capital. The Vorthak were still alive, but they were no longer in charge of their own world. They worked in human factories now, building ships for the human hegemony. Their children learned human language and human history in human schools. "Sir," said his aide, a young Vorthak who had been raised from childhood to serve human interests, "the monthly production reports." Jae-sung looked at the numbers. Weapons production was up 15%. Ship construction was ahead of schedule. The conquered populations were adapting to human rule better than expected. It helped that humans had learned to be very persuasive. Species that cooperated were treated well. Species that resisted simply disappeared. "Any word from the outer territories?" Jae-sung asked. "The silicate worlds have agreed to your taxation demands," his aide replied. "The Aquatic Federation is requesting permission to trade with human colonies." "Tell them we'll consider it," Jae-sung said, "after they hand over their military leadership for trial." This was the new reality. Humans had become the galaxy's rulers not through inspiration or cooperation, but through fear and superior firepower. They had learned all the wrong lessons from their centuries of kindness, and now everyone else had to live with the consequences. Back on Earth, children who had never known the old humanity learned about their history in schools. They were taught that kindness was weakness, that helping others led to betrayal, that only strength mattered in a hostile universe. "Why did the old humans help aliens?" asked a student in Insu Park's history class. "Because they were naive," Insu replied. They thought other species would appreciate their kindness. They thought everyone would work together for the common good. What happened to them? "They died," Insu said simply. "They died saving people who didn't save them back. And we replaced them." The lesson was clear. The galaxy had wanted humans to stop being kind, so they had. Now the galaxy lived under human rule, enforced by human weapons, governed by human law. Some alien leaders tried to argue that this wasn't what they had meant. They said they had just wanted humans to be more practical, not completely cruel. But it was too late for explanations. The old humans who might have listened to such arguments were gone. In the old Galactic Council building, a monument had been erected where the peace gardens used to grow. It was made of black stone and bore a simple inscription in every known language. "Here lies human kindness, 2156, 2387, killed by those who needed it most." Visitors from across the galaxy came to read those words. Some wept. Others felt anger. Most felt fear. The monument was a reminder of what the galaxy had lost when it chose to reject human compassion. It was also a warning about what had taken its place. Late at night, when the government buildings were empty, Kyung-min Lee sometimes visited the monument. He had known Dae-ho Kim, the gentle ambassador who had died trying to save alien refugees. Sometimes Kyung-min wondered what Dae-ho would think of what humanity had become. But those moments of doubt never lasted long. The galaxy had made its choice. It had taught humans that kindness was pointless in a universe where only the strong survived. Humans had learned that lesson perfectly. Now everyone else had to live with their new teachers. The galaxy had wanted humans to stop being kind. They got their wish. And now they would live forever with the consequences of what humanity became when kindness was no longer enough.